go.
Hey, everybody. This is Magic for Amateurs, the do's and don'ts, and I have a very special guest tonight, Bridget O'Neill. Hey, Bridget.
Hey, how are you doing, Sparrow? Okay.
Oh, you don't want to know. We'll save that for another webinar.
I think so.
But one thing I do want to point out to everybody right off is a lot of the photos that we have in this webinar, the equipment and things, especially you see right here on the title page, are available at your website, correct?
They are available. They may not be on the website as I'm redoing that, but there's these and much more. There will be lots and lots of pictures going up.
But there is a way to contact you on the website, and if you see something here you want, you just contact Bridget. And your website address is
www.bridgetsbroomcloset.com.
Bridget'sBroomCloset.com, and that's Bridget, B-R-I-G-I-D, just like you see there on our screen.
That's
for
right.
Everybody watching the screen. All righty, and basically during the webinar here, we'll spend a little bit of time during the presentation, and after the presentation, then we will start taking calls, and we will do free psychic readings. So come to our webinar, a live webinar, and talk to us live. It's really fun doing the readings right here on the screen.
Or you can ask any questions you want about magic, about witches, about spells.
Oh, yeah, and tell us your good stories and your horror stories here. And moving on to the next slide, when should you contact a spell worker? When do we contact a spell worker, and when can we do these things ourselves?
Basically, there's two kinds of spells you can do that don't entail a spell worker, and they are usually a money spell or a traffic spell. By what I mean is a traffic spell is if you want to find a parking spot and it looks like the street's parked up, or you want to keep the light green so you can get through it. Those you can do yourself. You're not going to suffer any backlash. Any other spells than that, you need a spell worker, because the backlash, if you are doing it, can be, and you say one word wrong, you don't want to be the one getting that coming back at you. And only a real spell worker knows how to do those, because they don't want it coming back at them either.
Okay, so, but there are times when money spell, sure, you're saying a simple money spell, right? Not a complicated money spell where I want to do some sort of long-term spell work to bring growth to my business. That's something I'd probably need a spell worker to help me with, right?
You would, yeah. There are, like, where you can do a 7-day candle spell, and that's not hard to do. You just have to remember that whatever you say the first day, you have to say exactly the same every other day, for the 7 days remaining. And there are 7-day candles. There's knob candles. There's jar candles. So these are used for things like that. But if you want a really in-depth money spell, and some can take up, and not just money spells, but any other spell, can take sometimes even a month to do one.
Just to go through the spell casting, not for it to manifest, right?
That's right. Now, that's one thing we might catch a little further down here, I think. The thing is, not all spells work for all people. That's why a lot of times it has to be done that it's written for that particular person. Also, spells do not instantly happen that second. I have seen some spells manifest. It took them 10 years to manifest. Some aren't that long.
Well, like my long-term business plan here, I could easily see that approach a decade, right? I would want a spell worker to do something like that.
Right. So it's not like some spells are so in-depth that they take a month to do. They're hard work. Don't think this is just a hocus pocus, because it's not. This is real work, believe me. For a spell worker to do work, it is like working 24 hours a day. It's hard on the body. You're very worn out when you're finished. You can get sick. Many spell workers get sick after doing spells.
Right.
And I myself and any spell worker who is for real or anything would never give someone a spell to do that could cause them harm if they didn't do it right. So that's why I say anything more in depth than a simple money spell or a traffic spell, like to keep your parking space. So find a parking space or keep the light green is simple, really simple. And you're not going to get any backlash. But anything else, you need a spell worker for.
Okay. Since you said it's okay to do a simple money spell, like, I need to make an extra $50 or $100 pretty quick here, can you tell us? Tell us one right now, a simple money spell that's safe for me to do myself.
Okay. You could get a jar, and you can write on little pieces of paper how much money you need. Say you need $300 for utilities, you need $200 for your insurance or whatever. Don't be greedy about it. Don't say, well, I need $5,000 right now, because you're not getting it. You get this jar, you fold those papers, you put them in the body, and then you take some coins. Now, it's better to have them in different denominations. So, like if you have a penny and a nickel and a dime and a quarter, and maybe up here in Canada we have loonies and toonies. Those are $1 and $2 coins, because we took the paper money away on that. So if you have stuff like that at 50-cent pieces, which I think are very rare, I've got one of the last ones in existence, you drop them into the jar and you say, with this wish, the money grows in leaps and bounds. It overflows. Coins that jingle, coins that shine, come to me now. Now is the time. And as you're saying it, you're dropping the money in. Then you close the jar up, and you put it somewhere where no one else can see it. And each day you do this. And you don't take the money out of there until the spell is completely done. And the thing is you will not get all of the money all at once. You will get bits and chunks of it. You may get $100 this day and $200 that day, and maybe in a week you'll have $300 or $500. But don't be greedy. If you're greedy, you get nothing. That's how it works.
Well, I've got a little wish here. I want a new Droid tablet. And could I just write that down? I want a Droid tablet and write down the price and.
Yeah, you could. And you put it in there and you do this. But you keep it out of the sight of other people. And the reason for that is somebody goes, oh, look, there's some change. And in their fat little hand goes, this will be great. I can go get a frickin' Slurpee. And you're like, where'd my money go? Oh, I took it for a Slurpee. So, I'm going to McDonald's with it, And
so I could use a small drawer. I can use a small jar that I can slide into a drawer.
Yeah. Or you can use a little quartz sealer and hide it somewhere.
Okay.
If you have deep drawers or
okay.
or something like that. You just in top of a closet somewhere that nobody goes into or nobody looks at. Just hide it. And keep, you don't sit it out in your living room where everybody in the world can see it on top of the TV. Oh, look, there's money. Far out. So that's a very simple money spell. There's different money spells. Basically, that one will work for most people. I've had it work for me. So,
I'll try it. Thank you.
Yeah.
All righty. Moving on to our next.
It's like any spell. You don't go and get greedy with them, no matter what the spell is, because if you do, you don't have a really good chance of getting it to work for you.
The gods know. The gods
they
know
do.
What's in your heart.
And they'll sit there and go, you're not getting it, you're greedy. And usually what I try to do, do not try to do a whole bunch of things at one time. Because a lot of times it's why you don't do two, 3 different spells at a time. And what I mean by that is spells that last more than a day, is because of the fact that things then start getting confused. And it's not good to do that.
That makes sense.
I mean, it's okay if you're out, you've gone downtown, you want to find a parking space, and if it's like anything like this city, you've got to figure out how to make your car that's already small a lot smaller so you can get it into that space that maybe a smart car can fit it into. So you want a reasonable space. So you do, open up a parking spot space for me. And you go around and you come and here's one there sitting all waiting for you, or somebody just pulls out of it.
Mhm.
But you don't ask for a space that'll fit an RV when you're driving a Toyota.
Right.
Unless your
right.
RV,
And you still have to have money to put in the meter or what have you.
That's right.
Yeah.
And you'll be glad. Yeah, this is a very expensive city. You need lots of money for the meter here.
Mm-hmm.
We're second most expensive to New York.
Why?
I don't know.
Tell everybody where Bridget is in Calgary.
Because people here think they should make this the New York of the West.
Yeah.
Nothing I want to see. But
New York in the mountains.
That's right.
All right,
moving on down the line.
Moving on to the next slide. Real spell workers. Now, because we see that all the time. Everybody's heard the horror stories of being cheated by some sort of a spell worker.
Right. So the first rule of thumb is a psychic usually is not a spell worker. Mm-hmm. The only time they're a spell worker, now spell workers are psychics, but not all psychics are spell workers. So don't be fooled by them. When you get someone who says, I'll return your lover to you in 3 minutes, run really fast, far, far away. They are charlatans who are out to just fill their pockets. Another one is spell workers are almost exclusively witches. But not all witches are spellcasters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I mean, I know so many witches that do not. Mm-hmm. They aren't psychic, and they don't do spells, period, not even for themselves. Mm-hmm. So the whole thing is with that is you have to know what they are. And if you're going on, Live Person or whatever they've got out there, California Psychics.
They've got a lot of them now.
Oh, I will return your lover to you in 3 seconds flat. Yeah, run away. Next one is if they guarantee that the spell will have effect, then you run away. No spell worker will guarantee a spell that you do yourself or a spell that we do for you, and there's reasons for it. Mm-hmm. The reasons are...
some of those reasons in the do's and don'ts, right? You want to move on to the do's
and
don'ts?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay. Do.
Contact a spell worker for anything more than a traffic or money spell. And that's a little money spell. Sorry about that. Do pay your spell worker. There's reasons for this. Spell work can be very expensive. And the reasons for that is because like I said, it's like working 24 hours a day for the duration of that spell. You have to get yourself into proper mind. A spell worker exclusively has to do this. Somebody can't just sit there and say to you, I can do this spell for you. No, it has to be divined. We have to use divination to see, 1, if we can do the spell, 2, if this is the right time to do the spell, and 3, if the spell is even going to work.
Right, but back to paying your spell worker.
You got to pay them.
If you don't pay your spell worker, that's kind of like telling the gods you really don't give a damn.
That's right. And some spell workers, I've done it for people because, like I said, spell work is expensive. You have got to pay them because if you don't, and they say, okay, I'm going to let you do this in 4 installments during, in the month or within 2 months. make sure you pay it. If you don't, the spell will turn around, and it'll be 10 times worse than it was to start with, because everything will stop. The gods will stop it. Remember this. Spell workers work for the gods. The gods don't work for them. And the gods control everything, and you don't want to piss them off. And this is a good way to do it. And you've got to do everything that the spell worker lays out for you. There are finite things that are done during spell work. If a spell worker says to you, do not go on the Internet and pull spells off the Internet, you do not go on the Internet and do that. You have no idea what these spells are or what they can bring upon you. And believe me, it can be bad, really bad. So you have to do this, because if you even vary in the slightest, you can stop that spell instantly. And don't lie to your spell worker. I guess we moved to the don'ts, right?
Right. Why would anyone want to lie to their spell worker? I mean, this person is someone you're employing that is going to.
They think they can fool you.
You should be able to tell your spell worker anything. Hey, I'm a drug addict, and I stole my best girlfriend's husband, and and you guys are going to be able to tolerate that, right? I can tell you anything.
Well, yes, because we've heard just about anything. People will lie for different reasons, and I had that happen on a very important reason. I said to her, a lot of us are at a geographical disadvantage. You could be in another city or another country, and we can't see your body language. But with that, we know whether we're being lied to or not. We can feel that we're being lied to. And I've said to people, you're not lying to me. Don't lie to me. The gods will stop this if you lie to me. So you need to tell me everything. Well, this person did not tell me everything. They missed out a big piece on why they wanted their granddaughter back. Now, they weren't in the best financial position or anything else, but the big one was that the guy she had married was molesting her granddaughter. Not secretly, in the bed with her. You know. So if you don't think the gods are pissed about that, think again.
There's a lot of sick people out there.
There is. And people will lie for different reasons. They won't give you, they will lie by omission. You don't lie at all to your spell worker, because if you lie, like I said, we're geographically disadvantaged because we can't see your face or body language, but we can feel if you're lying. And I warn people many times, I give them all the things they cannot do. And I say it to them many times, but I also send it in an email. And almost everybody I've done a spell for at least does one of those things, if not all of them. It's like, what did I tell you not to do? Don't discuss this with someone else. They go out and tell everybody. They might as well have got out and taken out a billboard somewhere.
We're moving into the don'ts. What do you say? There it is. Don't take any liberties with the spell worker's instructions, right?
Exactly. Because you can stop the spell or you can turn it around so fast. And believe me, repercussions happen much faster than the spell will. Because now you can piss off gods. And you don't use a...
Let's just say you encountered a really, really great liar, and they lied to you, and you didn't realize it. Still doesn't matter. The gods are going to realize it.
Exactly.
Correct?
The gods know everything. There's nothing we can hide from them. They know this stuff. And you've really got to believe in spells and spell workers to make them work. Because if you go and get one and go, well, I know this isn't going to work, and the gods think, well, why the hell would we do it for them? They don't believe in us. You know, actually one of my favorite shows is on HBO right now.
Really?
So if you want to see what witches really do, you get on there and you watch Practical Magic, because that's as close to what real witches do. But, yeah, don't go to any spellcaster that offers guarantees with their work. They are not a spellcaster. They're a charlatan. They're there to get your money. You don't go to someone who keeps asking for more and more money for the same end result, which means if you come to me and say, look, I need the spell to keep this person away from me, and if I was to say to them, oh, yeah, that's $300, and then you come back and I go, oh, well, we're going to have to do another bigger spell, so that's going to be $1,000, and then it comes down, you come back again, and I say, oh, well, if you get me a house, it will work for sure. That, people, is a charlatan. That is who you run away from. When I quote somebody a price for a spell, it's for the spell. There's no other additional costs. So the whole thing with that is just
basically when I contact you and I need some spell work done, you're going to give me a price, and that's that. I'm not going to be asked for any more.
That's right. I will not say today that it's $200 and tomorrow it's $10,000. It doesn't work that way. And anybody who says, well, come back in 3 days, and if it hasn't worked, we'll take a look. And then they go, well, it's going to cost another $1,000. I didn't see this before. Excuse me? Of course you would have seen that before. So that's a surefire way to know that you've got a real liar on your hands who is not an actual spell worker. They take your money and watch TV.
Yeah.
Or go shopping. That's what they're doing. They're not doing spell work.
There are
and
some
that
like
is why
that.
there isn't that many. There really isn't lots of spell workers. Because
and I talk to people that often the spell worker will come back and say, well, we need to do more magic, that especially a love spell, right? This guy she wants back, and he's with another woman. Well, the other woman contacted the spell worker, and she's doing magic on you, so we need to do more magic, and this is going to cost more. I even had clients tell me about spell workers that threaten them. If you don't, get this spell from me, I'm going to put a curse on you and your family.
Great. You know what those are. Those
Yeah.
are liars to the max, and you would never want to be in contact with those people.
And they take advantage of the situation, because people that contact spell work are usually in a pretty desperate situation.
They are. And the thing is nobody's contacting a spell worker to make their hair look good.
You never know. We get a few on Psychic Bitch.
Yeah, but they don't want to pay for it. So,
yeah.
And like I said, spell work is not cheap to do either. It is very expensive. If we don't have the stuff in stock, we have to order it in that we need to use. And some herbs I get come from either the U.S., because I'm in Canada, or they come from the Caribbean. And
I want to interrupt. I know Angelina at Psychic Bitch also does spell work, and I know some of her products, she actually has to make trips out to the ocean and what have you,
exactly.
and gather things.
And, no one can declare, oh, I don't know what they're spelling, charging that kind of money for. Well, they don't know what goes into it. I am one type of spell worker. I'm a witch. Angelina's a witch. But we're different religions. I'm a heathen pagan, and she is La Santeria. They use different things in some of their spells even. Mm-hmm. We do
sometimes you have to actually go out and gather that stuff. You're not just,
yes.
You can't even order
and a lot
it.
of times
drive out to the river, and there on the riverbed you find this plant.
Yeah, exactly. And like sometimes I have to go out of the city, out to the country, to get certain herbs that are growing in certain places. Because first of all, you want to take it from out of the city because there's too much pollution in the city.
Right.
It's not great to get stuff that's been in a big city, which this is, because of the fact you've got pollution going on.
Or any place that's exposed to any kind of industrial pollution.
Oh, yeah. So the thing is like, okay, so now I'm taking a trip out to the mountains. That's gas money, and it's not cheap up here. We may produce gas, but they sure know how to charge us for it, too. So gas isn't cheap. It takes me an hour and a half to get to the mountains. I have to pay to get in there, to go into that national park to look for things. I have to be discreet, because if the park rangers catch me, even picking a weed. They'll take my vehicle. They're very strict.
Oh, my goodness.
So all of that, you got to figure, all of this goes into it. It sometimes it costs me more than the spell to do it. And so now we move to our next fun slide of our special equipment.
Special equipment. And again, I want to mention that every bit of the photos here on this page are available through Bridget. If you just want to go to bridgetsbroomcloset.com and contact her. And this is just a sample. Just a sample.
This isn't even scratching the surface. There's everything. We have amulets and jewelry, cauldrons. Yes, people, I do not hunker down over my cauldron every single day and do a spell. This isn't how it works unless I am working a spell at that time that takes more than one day. But a cauldron...
you have to build a fire out in the backyard first, right?
Maybe I can roast my landlord over it. Or my mother's neighbors or somebody. The cauldrons, I mean, these come in a lot of sizes, from very tiny to fair-sized cauldrons. And, I'm usually in contact with people who could get me ones that you could cook about 8 people in. If you're into cannibalism. Herbs. Yeah. We use a myriad of different herbs. Different mixings of herbs are sometimes used to work spells. We also use them for what is known as gree-gree bags or mojo bags. And they're little bags that you can carry for luck, for money. I've made many for people for money who've won gambling. So they're like a gambling bag or, medicine bag, stuff like that. Now I have to make the bags too. So, and then we have oils, and oils are used in the dressing of the candles. So there's different ones to use. Sometimes with a simple money spell, you can just use a candle. One of my favorite candles. Now I use, as you see here, we have the marriage candle, and this is to keep a marriage together or also put a marriage together. There's other ones where you can break a marriage up. You get to suffer the consequences if you use that candle and don't protect yourself. This is why you should never do spells that aren't simple. Because if it's my marriage and I want to break it up, that's okay, right? That's right. You're the one that's suffering the repercussion for it. But what it is you use the oils to dress the candles, and there's a certain way you dress the candles. Because if you dress the candle the wrong way, you're doing exactly what you didn't want to do. Mortar and pestles. Very useful little item. That's where we grind up our herbs. So if we're doing a combination and doing a spell with them, and we grind them up, or even making almost like a granular incense, we do it in a mortar and pestle. The scrying bowl, that's for divination. That's when we're divining. It's just like tarot cards, tarot cards, oracle cards. They're pendulums. They're divination tools. Just to interrupt you for a moment, because for the very beginners that are watching this, a divination means forecasting the future, correct? It is, yes. And it doesn't have to be far future, and sometimes you can see past in it. Scrying, you're right there. Scrying bowls, scrying mirrors, they're very interesting objects because not everybody can see things. And it takes a while for most people. I'm a little faster than most because the fact is I use all sorts of divination tools, crystal balls, you name it. Crystal balls are used for scrying also, right? That's very much. Famous scrying. It's a crystal ball. See, a lot of people also use fire for scrying. I don't scry using fire. It hurts my eyes. Because you have to look into, and the brightness of it can, make your eyes hurt. I wondered that. I did a webinar a few weeks ago on the introduction to Am I Psychic, introduction to divination, right. and I didn't know exactly where candle viewing, candle meditations where you stare into the candle. I've done that where you stare into the candle until your eyes go out of focus and then wait, and then when things come back into focus, then you start to see things. Yeah. Is that a form of scrying? I didn't know what to call it. It is a form of scrying. You can also scry. You're going to love this. using bones, using shells, but you have to know what you're doing. Not all methods of scrying are simple. Rune stones are not necessarily scrying, but they are divination. They're scrying mirrors. Crystal balls are scrying. Pendulums are scrying.
Reading tea leaves is scrying, correct?
Pardon me?
If you're reading tea leaves?
That is scrying.
Yeah.
You can also scry using the clouds. And it sounds strange, but yes, it's a form of divination. And don't do it when you're driving your car.
No kidding.
I have kind of got a little lost sometimes when I was driving. I'd look up and I'm reading the clouds, and I'm like, wait a minute, I'm driving. Don't do that. Do it on the doorstep.
Yeah, pull into the rest area.
Yeah, so there's things you can do it using actually plants, the leaves of the trees. As they're growing, you can see different things. Scrying can get anything from very easy pendulum. Pendulum is the easiest form you'll ever use, to very hard, which is clouds and leaves and judging by animals. Like I said, there's some forms of scrying I do not use, and that is the fire scrying, because of the brightness of the light of the flame causes grief with my eyes. But I use pretty much a lot of things. Also what is known as ogham, which is a very Celtic form, very ancient Celtic form of scrying. It is done by, now you can get ogham cards, which are much easier to do it with. But I've done it with the sticks, the ogham sticks, and each has a symbol on it. And when you throw them down, it's where the symbols land, how they land in regards to each other. Now, wands are a directional tool. If you wish,
ask that.
Pardon me?
I was about to ask about the wands. I didn't want you to leave
the wands are a directional tool. These are used for if you really, sometimes you want to heal someone, a part in someone. So you use them and point them towards that part of the person to help them heal. You can also, it's amazing what you can feel with a wand when you're doing that. We can even use hands for that. But athames, or some people like to call it a thame. Now these are, or they're called a yagdirk for the Celts. So the difference is, most Wiccans and generally most non-traditional pagans will use an athame, but they will cut nothing with it. It's usually dull. It is one for cutting your circle. It is also a directional tool in that you can cut a circle with your wand if you want. However, when it comes to the Celts and the Norse, and usually a lot of traditions in paganism and heathenism, ours are sharp because we use them for different things. We do cut things with them. And there's also a tool that isn't on here because I didn't have a picture of it. It's called a bowline. Some of the ones I get now aren't as good as the ones they carried before. But bowlines are used for cutting herbs, but they're a vicious-looking knife. Yes, you could cut a head off with them. There's no doubt about it. It's a curved, jagged blade. But they're excellent for cutting herbs. So these are just a taste. I mean, I carry everything from this stuff to grimoires, which are also known as books of shadows.
Right.
Those are, the Wiccans call them books of shadows. I call them grimoires. They're where you write your secrets. If you are a pagan or going into pagan or Wiccan, your tools, these are normal tools you have. You have your athame, your wand, you have your mortar and pestle, you have your cauldron, and whatever form of divination you use. These are your tools. No one should ever touch your tools. When you die, your tools go with you, usually in a cremation. That includes any and all of your grimoires, because in there are your secrets, your spells, your pictures, your stories, anything like that.
And also, you told me in the past, never buy tools that have been used, correct?
Oh, my God. You never want to. Do not go to, this is in the do not section, do not go to a garage sale and buy an athame or tarot cards, any form of divination, any form of scrying, any kind of anything like that, because first, these are tools that belong to someone else. You do not know what that person was, whether they're a good person or a bad person. Lots of people have these tools that aren't good people. You don't always find the best shining examples of people in any religion, whether it is this religion or an organized religion. You can find bad in everything, believe me. And you don't know what that person was practicing. For all you know, you could be getting tools. Satanists use a lot of the same tools we do. No, and we don't believe in heaven or hell. There's no devil in our world. So
I know people that say they're Satanists. I said, well, if you're a Satanist, then you believe in Christianity, don't you?
Well, basically, because they're fighting against it.
Right.
You know, and then somebody says to me, well, I'm a Christian pagan. You can't be. It's impossible. That's like having apples and kumquats. You can't. Can't. You can't be a Christian pagan. You can't be a Christian Wiccan. You can't be a Christian Jew.
I thought that voodoo was a good example of combining Christian religion with the Caribbean.
Well,
religion.
Santeria too, because when they came
they
over,
combined Christianity.
Yeah, what they did with that is when they were taking the slaves from Africa over to America, they had to hide the religion behind the Catholic saints, or else they would have been killed by their slave owners. So they mainly hid it behind Christianity. So it's a combination there, voodoo too. We're in paganism. There's nothing. Christians stole from us. Every holiday was a pagan holiday, such ones as Ostara, which we're doing right about now, really close to now.
And Christmas is a classic one that Jesus wasn't born on December 25th.
No, he's probably born in September.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole thing is they took our Yule, which runs from the 21st to basically the 26th, and they decided, let's have Christmas on the 25th. They took our Ostara and turned it into Easter, approximately 5-6 days later. You know, they've done that with every holiday. And when you hear Christians saying they're going to take back Halloween, remember this. It was never theirs to begin with. It was ours. And it's called Samhain, and it's spelt Samhain, and it traditionally happens on November the 1st.
Right, which the Catholics now call All Saints' Day.
Yeah, another bunch of thieves.
And it's a day of obligation. According to the Catholic Church, it's a day of obligation. A good Catholic must go to church that day on November 1st.
And Samhain is one of our most revered holidays for the reason it's the only other time besides Ostara where the veils between the worlds are thinnest. And that's a real great time to do scrying. Lots of things happen. And you get a lot of what we call bugaboos, but popular word Angelina and I use together. It's because you've got lots of spirits roaming the earth at these two times. It is because the veils are thinnest. And with Samhain, we celebrate our ancestors, and we celebrate all the people and animals that died during the year, and we set them free so that they're not earthbound. And that is what we do. That is why it's so special to us. So whenever somebody asks me for an interview, it's usually at Samhain, and I give them hell because I say, you never want to talk to me when it's Ostara, when it's Imbolc, when it's Yule. Why don't you find out what those other times mean to us? Lugnasa. Why? Why don't you try then? Why do you have to take our what Christians would call holy time of the year and try to make fun of it. This is a very beautiful religion, and it is matriarchal, not patriarchal, but we believe in balance. That's why we have gods and goddesses, and each one works with different things. So when I have to invoke certain spells, I have to know which ones I'm invoking, because I have to invoke those gods into it. You just can't pick somebody out of the air and say, I'm going to use that one and that one.
Not all. We're about ready to move to our next slide then, huh? Earth-based religion.
Yeah.
We're kind of there anyhow.
We're kind of there. So the thing is, not all gods and goddesses get along together. So you got to know who does and who doesn't, or you're going to invoke a fight is what you're going to invoke. We do not proclaim, as they do in Christian religions, that God loves you and you should be worried because he'll smote you. No, we say it right out. Our gods, they will punish you if you're bad. They have no problem doing it. And believe me, I've seen it done. I've had it done because I did something wrong in the beginning of my, sometimes you do something you don't even realize you've done it. So, earth-based religions are not organized religions. These are Native Americans, pagans, Wiccans, heathens, voodoo, Santeria. These are earth-based because we deal with gods and goddesses, or for Santeria, Orishas. We deal with the earth in itself. We're using things from the earth. In our spell work, we use things from the earth. Our whole idea is to be good to the earth, or the earth isn't going to be good to you. Now, we're seeing signs of this wonderfulness with climate change. If people don't think it's true, then they're kind of got big rocks in their head. So the earth does get pissed off at us, and I can't blame it because we've done lots of harm to the earth. So all of us of earth-based religions, our whole idea is first you must have balance in life. To have one central God does not give you balance. Yes, in Santeria they have a more central God called Obatala, but they also work with lots of others. If they want to do something that pertains to the ocean, they work with Yemaya. They just don't go to the one God and bug him about everything. My goodness, how can you have one central God? That guy's got to be overworked and underpaid. He'd have bigger headaches than I do.
Well, you got to think outside the box now.
But the thing is, it also
doesn't your capacity of thinking to imagine what a higher being, a higher level of intelligence would actually be.
But then, all the gods and goddesses are a higher level of intelligence. And even though they once all lived with us and they live elsewhere, it doesn't mean they don't have their finger on the pulse of what's going on. So things that are happening, I've got Thor for thunder and lightning, and they've got Shango for that in Santeria. The trickster for the Norse is Loki. The trickster for the Native Americans is a Coyote. And the trickster for Santeria is Eligua. So we have lots of them. The only reason their names and their looks change is because of the culture.
Right.
Where they sit. So the thing is yes, these are non-organized religions, which means, Santeria, only when there's a plante do they meet in a group. Voodoo, when they're doing something similar, meet in a group. Pagans and Wiccans, when they're doing a Sabbath, they will often meet in a group, although most of us are all solitaries. And it's not like the way it used to be. I mean, I practice, for everybody who wants to know this, practice Celtic Norse, and this is because they're very closely entwined due to the invasion of the Vikings into Ireland. So it's very close. Music, everything is very much entwined. And we do it the old way. We like doing it the old way. The Wiccans do things a little more new, and they will involve any and all gods. This means they may one day pick Isis and Pan to work together. Pan usually likes to work alone. Pan is also Cernunnos in Celtic. So we have, like I said, their names and stuff.
Mm.
And the thing is we don't meet we rarely meet in a central location. And it is usually when there's a Sabbath, when there's something special, like our special holiday.
Like
and
Sarah
sometimes I still go and celebrate stuff with my Wiccan friends because I still know Wiccans, and not all Wiccans like to be referred to as witches. I do not know why. But when you get your pagans and your heathens, especially your pagans will refer to themselves as witches, and even a lot of your Asatru, which is Norse, which is heathen, also will refer to themselves as witches. Now, Native Americans have shamans. That's their witch. That's their witches.
Right.
So this is how it all works. And for anybody who wants to know, yes, I'm just doing the edits on my book, which is called Witches, which I hope to get to a publisher by August. Yes.
Oh, yes. Bridget O'Neill, watch for her upcoming book. This is going to be quite interesting. It's a fiction based on facts, historical facts, correct?
Correct. And it's called Witches with a Y, and it is Witches, the Invasion of Christianity. This takes place in 5th century Ireland. And that was the time when Christianity was invading Ireland. So So hopefully I'll get it to the publisher and all will go well and it'll come out because it deals with things nobody's ever read before. I mean, I have critique partners and they go, I've never read a story like this before. And there's things because, a lot of people think certain things took place and they didn't. And it goes into what witches did back then and Druids, because Druidism or Druids were always they were the more religious part of a village or tribe, and we usually refer to it as tribes. They were the more religious part of it. They carried the ceremonies such as weddings and such. Now it's kind of amalgamated. The witches do it because there isn't a lot of people practicing Druidism. A lot of the Druids were also bards. They did a lot of writing and a lot of music and stuff like that. So, and it is possible, in tribes they had people who did all sorts of different. Your Druid could be your friggin' sword maker. He could be your blacksmith. They did other occupations. So a lot of that. And there was certain aspects of Druidism and witches did a lot of the healing.
And the midwifing, right.
And midwifing, and they did, both of the Druids and the witches used divination. It was and magic.
Right.
It was a serious thing for them. So that is, and I guess we're going to expand this little series here so we go more into different areas.
We'll hope to come back soon. And then you can focus. This is just a little taste tonight, and Bridget promised to come back, and we're going to focus in some specific areas and more into the religion and into spellcasting. Next, I guess we're about done here. We're on the end of the slides here, so we're ready for our questions and answers session here with the attendees. Thank you so much for being here, Bridget. And before we stop recording, I want to remind people you can find Bridget at Bridget'sBroomCloset.com. And if you're not sure or how to find me either, I'm Sparrow Moon. Come on over to Psychic Bitch. You'll see our banners right there on the first page.
Yeah, and you can also, on the website, there is an email address. You can email me. You can call me. There's a phone number.
Yes.
You can call. You can talk to me, find out about, items you need or items you might want to order. And that's just wonderful. So,
all right. Well, thank you so much,
thank you,
Bridget.
Janet. And
I'm going to stop recording here. Is there anything else you want to say before I stop recording?
no, it was wonderful being here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Here we go.